All righty. So everyone, welcome to the Walker Report, part of NGSC Sports Guys. Remember the website, it's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. We are sponsored by biotropiclabs.com. Head over there and at checkout, type in TWR for 15% off a one-time purchase. TWR with the lowercase letter S for 20% off any subscription purchase, including one additional free supplement at biotropiclabs.com. All right. What is going on, guys? What's going on, gentlemen? How's it going?
All right, good. You're okay. Hey,
How you doing
by the
tonight,
way,
boys?
I saw your video a while ago. Not bad drumming.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. It's a work in progress.
Better when I play the drums.
All right. So the last time we were on here, it was talked about WrestleMania and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I did send over some stuff. I was gonna talk NASCAR because they mentioned the Hall of Fame, and me and Adam got a chance to go see that in person a couple years ago. That was pretty cool. A pretty cool experience. Me and Adam had quite a conversation on Tuesday night when USF decided that they didn't want to play baseball against East Carolina because they were down 7-0 after 3 innings. It was pretty crappy. So
All bad.
yeah. Well,
forfeited?
they won yesterday in a walk off. They had a walk off home run yesterday, win 4-3. They
Yeah.
played tomorrow against the loser or the winner of the Charlotte East Carolina game that's
Okay.
going on. So let me see. Because Tulane beat UTSA earlier today, which UTSA is the #1 seed in the tournament. So they
Okay.
got beat Tulane today. And East Carolina is #6. Charlotte's #2. East Carolina leads 6-3 in the bottom of the ninth with nobody out. So it could be Steph will be playing Charlotte tomorrow at 5 o'clock. It's kind of weird because they finish one game, then they lay new sod down and like pound the mound down, pound the around the plate. They like water everything. They have like 47 minutes in between games before they get to the next game. So they get the field time to repair. They give the kids time to warm up. Obviously, take field back and all that stuff. They can go hit on the fields on the back of where Baycare Ballpark is at, so they can go there and hit while they're waiting everything to get done. But yeah, back to the NASCAR thing. It was kind of cool that they're inducting new members in. Let me go back here and look and see who was it that they inducted.
I saw the Harry Gant went in. I'm not sure who else going in.
Yeah.
Kurt Busch is in.
Okay, good.
Rick in. Wheeler are all voted into the Hall of Fame. Ray Hendrick and Harry Gant were also voted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame on Tuesday, while executive Humpty Wheeler was named the Landmark Award winner for his contribution to the sport. The 46-year-old Busch held off Jimmy Johnson to win in the 2004 Cup Series.
Yeah.
34 Cup races? Did not know he won that many. Kurt Busch. Wow. Okay. He had one victory in at least 19 of his 21 seasons. Damn. No wonder why he's in the Hall of Fame. When you win you almost get a win a year.
Yeah, when a year keeps getting a lot of ride.
Oh yeah. You deserve to be there.
You get a lot of opportunity if you win. I mean,
oh yeah. And speaking of NASCAR, I saw Gerald complain because the race is going to be on Amazon.
yeah.
I saw his
Yeah, I heard.
I'm like, Oh crap! I saw that the other day that the
Right.
race is gonna be on Prime. So interesting.
I would
Yes.
like to see each league have their own app with all their games on it.
Not a bad idea.
I
And
think
It's not.
I think the biggest thing that's keeping the leagues from doing that is the money it would cost.
Oh, sure.
Because I don't know if it would be financially viable.
Probably not.
If you think about if you think about NASCAR, we can stay on NASCAR for a second because
Hmm.
if you have they'd have to hire a broadcast crew. They'd have to have three because they have the three national touring series. They have to have three broadcast crews to because they don't always either that or make it so that all three series race at the same tracks every week. And then, so then you would have some of the minor tracks that the big kites don't go to might lose their dates to accommodate the fact that every race has to be held at the same venue. Then
Hmm.
you have to hire a whole bunch of you have to hire a media staff. And I think that's the biggest thing that's keeping teams from. And that's the biggest thing that's keeping leagues from wanting to create their own apps to do their own media in the infrastructure that it would require. No, Fox, Prime, Netflix, um, CBS,
Yes. Well,
NBC, ESPN. They already have the infrastructure in place, and it's easier to sell the rights than it is to create all new infrastructure.
Mhm.
yes.
But I think here in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see most sports being transitioned to a streaming service.
Oh,
Prime,
absolutely.
Hulu, Amazon. And I think it goes back to what we've talked about a lot in the past, is that when you have uh even for your regional sports networks like Fox Sports or which became Bally or um Boston you have ESN,
Hmm.
NESE or whatever it is, I don't remember offhand.
Messy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or the Yes Network with the Yankees.
Yes.
Um
Or
even
Masson with the Nationals and the Orioles.
Oh, yeah.
right. Um even your league regional sports networks have sold programming after the game. Like you'll have so if the game's scheduled, this is I'm going to use Detroit example because it's the one I'm most familiar with. So if the Tigers were going, they just got started about an hour ago. On If they were going on a Thursday night at 7, and first pitch was 7:07, and the game was expected to go until 10:30, 2.5 hours. You might
Mhm.
you might schedule it out to 10:45. You might think, okay, if it goes long or if there's a minor delay, somebody gets hurt and we're gonna have and we have a few minutes delayed or there's things that can happen. So you can bake in 15 extra minutes. Then you have the the post game show that can be as long or as short as you need it to be. If they play 12 innings and the Tigers win on a walk off grand slam, you might have a longer post game show because they're gonna want to get that in. They're gonna want to talk to everybody. And then if the Tigers lose 8-0, they might shorten the post game show by a few minutes because nobody's really gonna want to hang around.
Right.
Now, but on the other end of that, you have all the programming that's scheduled to come after the baseball game, and so even your local regional sports station has scheduled programming for the after the baseball game. So if the baseball game goes long, getting into that programming block whether it be infomercials or it be some national thing that the national Fox is contracting the local sport that the local sports the local sports station
Right.
has to carry. That affects how quickly how your transition out now when you're talking about the big national networks, ABC, CBS, Fox, they
Mhm.
can't afford to have games go long, right? They can't afford for 425, the 425 game on CBS needs to be over by 6:30 so they can get the local news, get into 60 minutes, and then get into the Sunday night primetime block.
Hi.
When
Right.
when those games go long,
Yes, hi. Yes, hi. Hi.
another country I heard from.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
When those games go long, it backs everything up, and so TV doesn't really like live sports. I mean, they have a love-hate relationship with live sports because it brings in viewers, it sells ad time, but then conversely, you can go back and you look at the Heidi game. You know, they had a hard out. They had to cut from, I think was it Oakland and the Jets? I forget
Mhm.
who the Heidi Bowl game was playing. I'm pretty sure it was Oakland and somebody.
And the Jets,
Okay, I thought so. And they had the hard
1968.
out. So they went to Heidi, a movie, because that's what was scheduled to be on at that time.
Yes.
And the game ended up going long, and people missed the end of the game.
And that was before overtime.
Yep. And so network television has sold. So if they've sold that 7 o'clock hour, they might not have anything scheduled then. They might reserve that 30-minute block for in case of overtime or in case of a major injury or in case of weather or whatever. But once you start going past 7:30, they want the game over as quickly as possible because that's just backing
Mhm.
everything. It's a domino effect. Everything cascades after that at a certain point.
Yes.
Or take college football, for example. Like there was a couple games last year that I watched. I'm an Ohio State fan, and Ohio State was supposed to be on, I think it was Fox, and there was another game on that ran overtime, and like, oh, this is gonna start on Fox Business. Some people don't get that channel.
Right.
Yeah, they only cut away unless if you're in the regional market. If you're in the Columbus area, if they were playing, if it was Columbus play, if it was Ohio State, Illinois, in Champaign in Columbus, they're gonna switch over because they know that that's the game people want to watch. But nationally, they're gonna stay with the first game and send the Ohio State game to Fox Business or Fox Sports or you know
Yeah, and
Fox.
same thing was
Yeah.
like Bradley covers USF for football, and there's been USF games that, oh, supposed to start at 3:30, kickoff 3:35, but it's on
Mhm.
like ESPN or ESPN2, and I see, oh, this game's running late, so we're gonna put it over on ESPN News.
Yeah.
Because if you're not a big enough game.
They did the same thing with the UFL game and last week, and they cut it away from that for another game. Gee, I wonder why. It's because maybe like about only 2% actually watch UFL.
Well, speaking of USF, the first game of the season, you ready for this? I was telling
UFL.
Adam on the phone the other night. It starts at 5:30 p.m. on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
What traffic is like in Tampa at
Oh,
5:30?
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
I'm
not gonna be a fun drive.
gonna have to leave work early and get over there and get parked and get to the stadium before, because if I don't and you wait till 4 o'clock, it'll take you an hour and a half to get to the stadium
Put
in
in
At
for
that
a
least.
traffic.
half day.
Yeah,
Put in for a
and
half
again,
day now.
they're
Yeah.
playing Boise. playing Boise State.
Should be.
So
Could be a fun one.
Should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
I hope they
Yeah.
win. What's going to happen?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they're gonna beat Boise State.
I think they have, but I think they have a puncher's chance.
Yeah, because they have me in Florida the following 2 weeks, and then it's home against South Dakota State, or South Carolina State, excuse me. They can go 2-2 in the first 4 before conference play starts. That would be good. I mean, 1-3 would be the 2.
You know what? I'm not very high on Miami this year. I don't
Why not?
trust I don't trust Carson Beck.
Aha.
I
And
don't
that-
trust Mario Cristobal.
Okay.
Bradley, we've talked about this on our show before. Trusting Mario Cristobal.
Oh
Nah,
yeah, I've heard about that.
Don't trust the Taco Bell fart first.
Bud, we've had some choice words about Crystal Ball on our show before many times.
Yes,
I've heard some choice words about him too.
Many times. I don't like him either. Again, I was telling Adam this the other night. I was planning on going to the game in Miami, and so they play the Gators first, and they go to Miami the following weekend to play the Hurricanes. And I was supposed to go on there, but not unfortunately, I am going on a cruise that will cover 3 countries in 12 days. So yeah, I'll be out of the United States. So I may get to watch highlights if I'm lucky. I'll get to watch highlights, but I'll miss both those games. And that's okay, because I was talking to Adam the other night. I would like to go cover USF either at the Naval Academy or in West Point when they play the Black Knights. So they got to play Army down the road somewhere, because the Army's in the America. They got to play them down the road somewhere.
Yes.
But and we were talking too. How about either going as a fan or a credential member to the Army Navy game? Like that would be a pinnacle.
Or
you know
that
what?
would be.
Any of the rivalry games, not just Army Navy.
Sure.
Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State.
I've been to that game.
Alabama, Auburn.
The Iron Bowl.
West Virginia,
Iron Bowl.
Pitt.
I think West
Oregon,
Virginia Pitt would be a good time.
Yeah,
I'd like to go to Texas, Arkansas.
that's
See,
happening.
You know what? I didn't even know that was a rivalry.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's old school rivalry.
It is.
Oh, that's old school. That's
The
like,
rivalry I miss is USF UCF.
Right. Oh, sure. I heard about that.
The war on I-4.
That's because they changed
The war.
conferences.
Yep.
Yeah.
I no, you know what? I think UCF's scared.
Of
I
what?
think UCF was tired. UCF was tired. UCF was tired of they wanted to be recognized as one of the big dogs because they beat up on the AAC for so long. They jump over to the Big 12. Well, unfortunately for them, the minute they moved to the Big 12 imploded.
Yep.
Yes,
Well,
they
it didn't completely implode. They just lost Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah,
That's a pretty big loss, though.
It is, and I thought
they
they shouldn't have taken Cincinnati with them. It should have been
No,
Houston,
no.
USF, UCF, and Memphis. Because
And
now all you hear about in expansion talks for other conferences
Yes.
is Memphis, USF, Tulane, UTSA, North Texas, and I hate to say this as a USF fan, I don't think USF's ever leaving the AAC.
Probably not.
As it currently sits, no. But Golish is doing some nice things down there. If they can consistently put together winning seasons and they can start to recruit better,
Yeah.
Oh,
The problem is you're in the state of Florida and
and they don't
you
have a
got
problem with
Miami, you
Uh-huh.
got Florida State, you got Florida, UCF. And I
Yeah,
mean,
the
I'm sorry,
problem.
I would not want to send my kid to Orlando for college.
No, I guess not.
I'd rather send him to Tampa
Yeah.
or Gainesville.
Gainesville. Gator. Uh-huh.
I think it really
I
depends.
and the other place I wouldn't want to send him is Tallahassee, because I had to go up there when my sister was looking at schools for college. Florida State is not a academic school. It is purely a school you go to if you want to party.
Smart school.
Exactly.
Never been. I've lived in Florida all my life. I've never been to Tallahassee. Never been to Tallahassee.
I've been to Tallahassee. I've been to Miami. I've been to where Miami, Florida is. Don't recommend going. It's in the middle of nowhere in Miami.
Well, they play. Miami plays at Coral Gables, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or
No,
no,
no, in Miami.
the University of Miami's in Coral Gables. They play at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. That's
Yeah.
right. They play where the Dolphins play. Yeah.
And Hard Rock Stadium is not a nice stadium. I went
That's
there
right.
in 2007 when Miami played Ohio State.
Mm,
Oh. I gotta
But
check that.
I've never been. I will say there's. Oh, and I'm sorry, FIU and FAU. I left you out. You do count too, but nobody really
kind of fun.
recognizes you because you're
Not much of a school.
no. And again, FIU is actually in Miami.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Still, I wouldn't send my kid there.
FAU's in Boca.
And Boca
Boca.
is a lot nicer than Miami.
I've been.
Yeah.
I've been to campus to cover the Boca Raton Bowl last year or 2 years ago. When
Mm,
set out Syracuse.
right.
Boca Bowl.
I don't know. I wouldn't if I had. I kind of feel like those are the problem for FIU, Florida Atlantic, USF.
Is the bigger schools in Florida get
They
all the 5 stars and 4-star kids.
and they
Yes.
don't recruit out of the state well.
USF does somewhat.
Not as well as they should. See that's the problem. And Brad can tell you that this is my biggest beef with FSU or USF. Sorry, is that they don't recruit out of state well. They recruit in state very well. 90 that was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even longer than that. But I was watching. I think it was one of the last times that they played UCF, and 91 of the 108 kids on their roster were from Florida.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I
And
see.
Who was the QB at the time for UCF? Do you remember?
I think it was I think it was Charlie Strong's last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. It was the year Mackenzie Milton got hurt. I was at the game. I was at the UCF
Oh,
USF
yeah.
game that year. I remember, and I had ticket. We were sitting in a suite, me and my dad, by
Mm,
the sideline on the USF sideline, and it was 4th and 1 with less than a minute left in the first half, and
mm,
USF was already down, I think 14-0.
Yeah.
4th and 1 on your own 40, and instead of going for it, because what do you have to lose? It's almost halftime.
Right.
Instead of going for it, he decides to punt it. And UCF
Okay.
goes down and scores a touchdown.
Huh.
21.
well, you know, Yeah, at that point, it's like, why do we even punt? The result would have been the same. We'll give ourselves a chance.
Yeah, that just showed you. And I thought Jeff Scott did some good things with USF, but he really wasn't given the assets that Golish has been given.
Um, well, I
I-
think
Okay, bud.
I think a good coach makes lemonade with the lemons he's given.
Yes.
You know, I think I don't think I think you can't go 0-11, 1-11 that in back-to-back years with and getting waffle stomped every week
No.
without any signs of improvement. That's what I think the biggest problem for um Jeff Scott is it just week on week improvement wasn't there. Where you can say, yeah, we're 1-11, yeah, we're 0-12, yeah, we've gotten beat, but week on week we're looking better, we're scoring more, we're competitive. Yeah, we're getting beat, but it's
Yes,
17, 24,
compared to
17, 20.
look at Alex Golish his first 2 years at USF. They've improved both years.
And they've won both of their bowl games, and they've been competitive. They almost beat Alabama. They've been
You know what? I'm gonna say this. I think if they didn't have that weather delay against Alabama,
Mhm.
they would have beat Alabama.
I agree. I was at the, I can say that out loud. I think if Mother Nature had not stopped that ball game, that would have been an upset in whatever week that was, week 1, week 2,
Week 2
Yeah,
last
me too.
year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. We had Alabama on the road last year and got muscle whipped
Destroyed.
there. So yeah.
But
Oh yeah,
for a
because
Florida,
last year I went to Virginia Tech, and if you haven't been to Virginia Tech, highly recommend going just to see
Enter Sandman.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
got to see it from the press box because I had credentials. The
nice.
stadium was shaking.
One of the
Shaking.
coolest.
It is. It's one of the best entrances in college football. In my opinion, for me, the few I've seen, it's better than and people are gonna say I'm a hater. It's better than Clemson when they run down that hill.
Yes.
Mm,
That is the most lame entrance in college football.
I love the Florida State when
Okay,
they
I
come out.
like
Sure.
the top. I'm sorry, I do not like the tomahawk chop. I don't mind them how they come out. I just don't.
Yeah.
The spike, the flaming
Oh,
spear.
yeah,
Just kind of
I
The
like
punch.
flaming
that.
spear. That's what I was trying to call it. The
The
Florida State
flaming
flaming
spear,
spear.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great intro.
Another one that kind of gets underrated is the Michigan Mr. Brightside, which Bradley and I will be seeing that in
You're going to go.
person next year.
I'm gonna go to the Oklahoma game.
Mr. Brightside.
Mhm. Yep.
Still
Another one I want to go to. Another one I want to go see is Oregon, but I've looked at flights and there is no direct flights to Eugene.
Mm.
Hmm.
Are there direct flights to Ann Arbor?
No, you have to go through Detroit.
Yeah,
From Detroit to
Wow.
Ann Arbor, it's only I think
45 minutes.
30 minutes.
It's
Yeah.
45 from
45.
Detroit. Yeah, give or take. Take
So
94 up
that's
to
not
23, and then take
that's not
23
bad.
on it. You take 40. You take 94. You take 94, 96 to 23, and then just take 23 right on in.
Yeah.
No,
They,
that was something else. That's something else me and Brad were talking about on Tuesday, and he was telling me that you guys were going to that game, and and he was asking about flights and the weather, and I was like, and I forgot that was going to be an early season game, so weather won't be a factor. If anything, it'll rain. Ranger,
be
Ranger only concern. You're not gonna get it's September 6th. So.
Well, and we might, Bradley, we might be able to get into the. If we get ahead of it, we might be able to get in the press box.
Yeah, I was talking to him about that. We'll have to see. I'll have to see if I can look up the media people for Michigan and see if we can apply. But I'll apply like next year, like July, because
Yeah.
the earlier they get in, the more likely we're going to get them.
Yeah. All you do is just you go on, I think it's Michigan sports media credentials. I did the same thing for Virginia Tech
Yeah.
and I was able to get it, but it's because they were playing Marshall. I tried a couple other games in case I couldn't make the Marshall game. And like I tried a couple other conference games and they're like, oh, we're sorry, we can't get you in the press box. The press box is full.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only problem with trying to go to the Oklahoma game. That press box is probably going to be pretty damn packed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get ahead
but
of
if
it
you
and
put-
you do it in like June or July, it gives them time to, oh, we can work these people into the thing.
It's one of those first.
Let me ask you, Bud, do you want me to apply for Michigan or do you want us to, or apply for
Apply for both.
Oklahoma? We have to apply for somebody. If we apply for Oklahoma media, you might have an outside chance, but I don't write about Oklahoma, so I don't know how that'll work. You know what I'm
I
saying?
didn't write for Virginia Tech, and all I did is I applied for Virginia Tech, and I just put the name of the podcast, and somebody reached out to me, and that's how I got.
I'd say I would just apply for both sides and see which one you get. If you get one, it's like the worst thing they can say is no, sorry, we're full.
That's the worst scenario.
Sorry, we're closed.
No, sorry
Bobby-
guys, you're gonna have to buy your own tickets, you bums.
Second is
Knowing my luck as an Ohio State fan, they'll probably say no to me.
It'll be the first time that I'm in a stadium that has over 100,000 people in it, so that'll be kind of cool to experience that. So
Third time for me. Twice Ohio State, and then last year with Virginia Tech.
yeah, I've never 90,000. That was a swamp in Gainesville. So
how many
twice.
did the Predators
We were
pack
12
into
too.
Nissan?
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I don't know. Good question, buddy. Let me check the attendance on that because I don't remember. Let me look. Lightning and the Panthers.
No, we were swamped too.
Lightning and Predators outdoor game.
Yeah.
Did you see where the Lightning are getting another outdoor game next year?
Are they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
at Raymond
Are they?
Stadium.
at Ray J.
Raymond James Stadium. Uh-huh.
There's only
Never thought I'd live to see the day. Outdoor
68
hockey in the South.
Same thing. I never thought I'd see the day where the Lightning were gonna get an outdoor game in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
both
say
teams
68?
68, just over 68,000 on stadium.
Yeah,
Which
both Florida teams are getting an outdoor game next year.
Yep.
back-to-back weekends. Back-to-back
Interesting.
weekends. We
I think they did the Lightning dirty. The Lightning should have got the Winter Classic.
Yeah.
I think that.
Sorry, Panthers fans. You're our little brother until you win 2 more Stanley Cups.
That's
It might-
right.
I think that they should only have one outdoor game a year, if they have one every year.
Mm.
For me, the novelty of the outdoor games wore out. Because
And then now they're doing all these games overseas too.
Yeah, everybody's doing. All the leagues are doing overseas games too.
NFL's doing a lot of overseas games.
Yeah. Well, baseball hasn't done theirs yet. Other than,
Didn't they play a couple games in Japan earlier this year?
Yes, he did.
yeah, but usually they have more than one international series. Like a couple years ago, it was London. Then it was Mexico City. So what do y'all think there's gonna be an MLB team in either Nashville, Portland, or Utah?
Not
I
anytime
would think
soon.
Nashville. Forget Utah. That gets too cold most of the time, and I wouldn't go there.
I would say the same thing, but I've seen stuff and I've seen videos on social media and YouTube from reliable people that say Oregon, they already have a layout of what a stadium would look like, and same with Utah.
Yeah.
I can't see the MLB expanding.
It might be relocation.
Who would you do you move the Marlins then?
Yep,
Do you move
that's what
Tampa?
I was thinking.
Does Tampa get moved? I know that they
I
Orlando.
No,
think
they
if the Rays get moved, it's not going to be Orlando. Unfortunately, hear me out. I think they're going to move them to Nashville.
Yeah.
I just don't see because they just approved that money for them.
Nashville or Charlotte. One of
I
those
could see
two.
I could see Charlotte getting a team.
It,
I
it
could
could
see
be the
Nashville.
I can
Rays,
see either way.
and let
I
me
can see
tell
either
you. Let me tell you why. Why it could be the Rays. Their
Okay.
AAA affiliate, the Durham Bulls, is in Durham, and if they put the Rays in
Right.
Charlotte, that's like a less than 3 hour drive. So if they had to
Well,
call
Yeah.
somebody up,
It
if they had
has
to
a
call somebody up, they could just call them up and they would be there probably right before the game starts.
Charlotte has a minor league team. The AAA affiliate for the White Sox plays in Charlotte.
Yeah, we saw their
Me-
stadium.
Yes, you do.
Kind of neat. I wanted to go. They didn't have any games on that
Well,
fall. It was raining all
yeah,
weekend too.
see, but they could put the stadium somewhere else. It doesn't have to be. They could put
I-
it downtown where the Hornets play.
Or they could
Well,
put it out by the Speedway.
Why I don't see Charlotte is because the Panthers recently got a new stadium, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't know about that though.
I think you're right. I think they got it was either a new stadium or renovated the stadium.
It was about time the Panthers got a renovated stadium.
Yeah.
You know who I'm
I
happy is
remember.
getting a new stadium in the NFL? The Commanders.
Did they approve that?
I think they did.
Yeah. Yep. They're going to
I'm
go
pretty
back
sure
to
they did. It was time for them to get out of FedEx Field with all the issues.
Yeah.
Mhm.
they'll go back
Wow.
to RF and they'll become the Redskins again. You watch.
I'd like to
Well,
see that
see, the
happen.
problem is I don't think that's gonna happen because they're the whoever the new owner is, I think it's Josh Harris.
Mhm.
He's already came out and said
Yeah.
that basically they will not be going back to the Redskins.
I see.
Yeah,
They
they
will be
retired.
staying with the Commanders, but they may rebrand their jerseys to bring back the old Redskins feel. Bradley, do you mind if we talk about the draft for a few minutes?
Go right ahead, bud.
Mm-hmm.
So, who was y'all's favorite picks of the draft, and who was the worst picks of the draft?
Worst? I think I'm gonna say Jackson Dart was the worst pick.
Mm.
I think they overspent.
Yeah.
Well, you see, and I was telling Bradley this. I did before the draft, 2 weeks before the draft, I did a video on my YouTube with my big board of top 10 like wide receivers, top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 tight ends and receivers, and Dart was one of my top quarterbacks. And reluctantly I put Shador on there too. And I think it's wrong that Shador didn't go till the 5th round.
I
Exactly.
think that was
That was
steal.
terrible. That was a terrible move right there.
If he comes in with if he checks his attitude at the door and he puts the work in, I think he can have a very long and productive NFL career.
Well, and
And
see, the thing is, what the
Well,
and the media is blowing it out of proportion. They were saying, "Oh, he was being a you know what" to some of the front office people that interviewed him from different teams.
yeah, he was a bit of an arrogant bastard.
yes.
My personal favorite pick was, and people say the Buccaneers lost the draft because they took a wide receiver in the first round. I don't think so. I think they won the draft because they took a wide receiver in the first round because they're looking ahead to the future. I mean, Mike Evans is not getting any younger. Godwin's not getting any younger.
Mm.
And Godwin's coming off his second major injury.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was gonna say.
And this gives Godwin time now to
Fully healed.
recover, to fully heal. They don't have to rush him back. And they ended up taking, I like the Buccaneers draft. They got every one of their biggest needs taken in the draft. And I
Well,
even like what they did with their UDFAs. Shiloh Sanders.
I was
Mm.
gonna say he makes the team. Did you
Yeah.
see the difference where he went down the line and shook every reporter's hand
Yep.
and met?
Yeah.
He went down the line, introduced himself, shook hands with everybody. I'm like, there's a complete different 180 of your brother. Your brother is cocky, arrogant, and you're the complete
Mhm. Yep.
of you are coming in. And I know I think he signed a 1 year contract with the
No,
Bucks.
3.
Oh, 3 years.
I think it was either 3 or 4 years for a low amount of money.
Well, I hope
Well,
he plays safety, right? Or is he a corner like his dad?
I think he's a corner.
I'm
He's a corner
not
like
sure.
He's a
I
corner.
hope he
I think he's both. I think he could play corner, but I also think he could play safety. And I
he
mean,
would
the
be
Buccaneers don't necessarily need safety. You got Antoine Winfield.
And isn't he coming off a major injury too? If I remember
injury
No.
right.
mhm.
year. He wasn't 100% near the end of the season either. So this year will be different.
Well,
The
and then
defense,
your other safety is, I think, Tyke Smith, who was a rookie last year.
the
Yes.
Bucks, the one thing the Bucks have the issue with is linebacker because Levante David.
Levante's not getting any younger.
This could be Levante's last year as a Buccaneer or in the NFL, should I say? Because I don't.
I mean,
see
I
him-
like. I sorry to cut you off, Bradley, but I like Servassier Dennis, but I feel like he needs more. He needs more reps.
Yeah, he's an enigma. He's an enigma. He can be good at times. He's good. He's good at run defense, but he's not great at the pass. Which, if you can get behind him, if you remember how the Buccaneers lost the majority of their games last year, people were getting them in the middle of the field. So you take behind the
They were,
linebacker,
yeah, they were
take,
dinking and dunking.
and that's how you. So they need to they need to fix that, and I know that they'll adjust that because Jason Light's a great GM, and Todd
Well, and
Bowles
I
did.
like the free agency signing they made with Hassan Reddick.
Mm.
They did good with free agency. Now everyone gives Todd Bowles a lot of what because he doesn't talk at press conferences. But you know what? Not
He
every
doesn't
coach is
have to,
not every coach is Greg Popovich, who's now
or Belichick, who's now in college.
yeah. Well, I'm curious to see when is Hard Knocks. Speaking of that, when does Hard Knocks start for North Carolina? Is that coming up in August? When does that start?
What?
For that.
They're on Hard Knocks.
Yeah, they're on Hard Knocks this year.
Yeah.
Hang on, now look it up.
That's gonna be interesting.
Let's see. It starts. North Carolina will be on the 2025 Hard Knocks. Let's see.
I'm gonna say this. For me, the worst draft pick To me, it wasn't Jackson Dart. It was Will Johnson from Michigan.
Uh-huh.
And that's not because, again, not because I'm an Ohio State fan. I just feel like he should have gone. I think he had one more year of eligibility left. He should have gone back to school.
Probably should have come out a year before after we won the title.
Yeah, he should have came out last year. He would have been a
Mhm.
first round pick last year. And same with the kid from East Carolina, that Ravel. Siobhan Ravel. He should have came out last year too.
Oh.
Because a lot of people had him going in the first round, and it's like, okay, so there's teams there in the Ravens, they just keep stealing people in the draft.
that doesn't make any sense. How is that?
Yeah, you know who steals is those thinking Eagles.
Oh, yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. Howie Roseman.
Yeah.
Are you a Lions fan, Adam?
Only by birth.
What did you think of the Lions' first round pick?
Who did they take in the first round?
Tyleek Williams from Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to give Aiden Hutchinson help.
Who got cleared to play? I saw
Yep.
that pop up the other day.
Yep, he had a press conference.
August 5th is when Hard Knocks starts for
Okay.
North Carolina.
Okay.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting.
I'm sure.
Mhm.
Well, and Belichick's already in the news again for his, dare I say, interesting relationship he's in.
With his 24-year-old girlfriend?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that what?
supposedly they're getting engaged.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Bill.
Oof.
Oh, Bill, what are you doing?
Real Robert.
Oh, Bill. I guess Belichick learned from one of the worst people to learn from when it comes to dating.
Mhm.
Right.
Oh, by the way, did y'all see that Mr. CTE himself got arrested?
Antonio Brown?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
He has not been the same since what Bontes Burfict did to him back in the playoffs.
Mhm.
That was so dirty.
That was
It
dirty.
was, and I think that's what messed up Antonio Brown's career.
It really did. It fucked him up.
Put it past it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I mean, at least look at what the Steelers have done. They've gotten rid of all these wide receivers that have blow-ups right after they leave Pittsburgh. Martavis Bryant, Deontay Johnson, Antonio Brown, George Pickens.
Yes.
Where did he end up?
Pickens ended up in. Oh, he just got traded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't he with the
Which
Remember.
Giants?
didn't make. No, it wasn't the Giants.
Let me see.
It was.
Cowboys.
Oh,
That's
boy.
right.
Oh,
Dallas Cowboys.
Jerry. What are
The
you going
Dallas
to do to mess this up?
Yeah. If it's
The
already
the Jerry Jones special.
Yes.
Let's go out and trade for a wide receiver that is a locker room cancer instead of paying our best defensive player. who's probably going to leave in free agency next year.
Like the part.
Yep. And everybody's saying, and I'm even hearing it from Dolphins, are like, oh, Tyreek Hill's out recruiting Micah Parsons to come to the Dolphins. That's not going to happen.
No.
The camp space boy?
I can't see. If Micah Parsons leaves the Cowboys, there's 3 teams I can't see him going to. I can't see him going to Miami.
Okay.
I can't see him going to any of the other teams in the NFC East. Well, actually,
Eagles.
I take that back. I
Mhm.
could see Howie Roseman calling him up and say, here's a nice
Yeah.
lucrative contract. Come to the Eagles.
Uh-huh.
So anybody in the NFC East, not named the Eagles and not named the Cowboys.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then the last one I could see him not going to, unless they lose Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals.
Yeah.
But then the problem is you're in the same boat you're in right now with Parsons with the Cowboys. Because the Bengals have all this money tied up in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
He looked good in a Buffalo Bills uniform, even though I'm a Patriot fan, and I hate to say that, but
Yeah.
He'd look good in a Patriots uniform.
he would. And we have
Well-
Vrabel now. I don't know how that would work, but yeah, we have Vrabel now. So we'll see.
Micah Parsons on it. And I'm sorry, I hate Cowboys fans. They say, "Oh, every year it's our year. It's our year."
No
What
one
is
hates the
your
Cowboys
year
like the
for?
Cowboys fan.
I wish Gerald was on here right now. I wish he was on.
Yeah.
No one hates the Cowboys like a Cowboys fan.
Cowboys fan.
Cowboys
Gerald's a
fan.
die. Well, Lewis is a Cowboys fan in some
That's right.
retrospect. But I mean, Gerald's a diehard. He's a diehard Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't talk bad about the Cowboys around Gerald.
For
No,
me.
No, don't worry, he'll do it for you.
well,
Yeah.
you can ask Alex, who's no longer, on here more, about the arguments that those two got into about the Eagles and the Cowboys, because the three of us,
Right.
before you got here, the three of us we just sat back and it was like watching a comedy show, because they would argue back and you'd have to moderate them and say, okay, guys, enough. Don't, as Adam was saying the other day, you can have a rivalry with a team, just don't hit below the belt.
No.
Don't go
Keep it
after.
up on the-
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna admit something as an Ohio State fan. I try not to hit below the belt at Michigan fans, but it's kind of hard with. And Adam, I'm sorry if you're a Michigan fan, but
Yes.
certain Michigan fans just can't take the fact that the reason Harbaugh left was because he knew what was coming.
What was coming? What? Where?
The
Where?
hammer's coming from the NCAA
When?
next month
When?
Right.
Yeah,
on
okay.
June 6th.
All right.
And
It's been
I
coming for two
find
and a
it,
half years.
can I say yes, because they were trying to get all the evidence. I'm trying to keep this as cordial as possible. And I find it kind of funny that
Yeah, I
two
find it
games
funny too.
Jerome Moore decided to suspend himself for were 2 cupcake games. Why is he ducking Oklahoma? Just asking. Just a question.
No.
Yeah. Are you still here?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just been it's quiet. You're
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Um,
Okay.
well, yeah, I don't have a comment because I'm not I'm an SEC guy. I live
Oh,
in
we
SEC.
we Bradley, you and me have talked about this on
Yeah,
our show
it's
before. How there's certain SEC fans out there too that they
Tennessee.
think yes, like what the
Tennessee.
Tennessee fans said about coming into the shoe last year,
You
and
can say
how
Tennessee.
and
Tennessee,
how Tennessee got mollywopped by Ohio State, and they said, "Oh, they were going to turn it into Neyland. They were going to turn it into Neyland South." Hey, Tennessee fans, what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
And the other thing is, where's your quarterback at now?
He's in California, which made me happy. Because, well, the funny thing about that now is we used to play Tennessee, I think like the second conference game of the year or the first conference game. Now they got switched. We play them in November before the FSU game. So
Mm.
the game that I'm looking forward to and myself, but is Florida, Georgia, and to be here at Raymond James Stadium next year. Because I think Jacksonville is getting a new stadium, I think, in the next
Yeah.
year or two.
Yep.
Yep.
So the largest outdoor cocktail party, as it's called.
Yes.
That's another
And-
rivalry game I want to go to. When
Yeah,
I was in college, I went to school in Jacksonville at UNF, and I always had friends ask me the week of Florida, Georgia. They're like, "Alec, you want to go? You want to go?" I'm like, I wish I could, but I had other plans, and because they would get tickets from the school or people they knew that went to UF.
Mm.
so the game here will be played in Jacksonville. 2026, it's going to be moved to Atlanta, where the Falcons play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and then in 2027, it'll be in Raymond James. So, if Alec, you want to tag team as fans or media members, then and go watch Georgia, Florida at Raymond James. So, and then we'll go. It says the teams will return to Jacksonville in 2028, and the game will be played there through at least 2031. I don't know, honestly, if it will ever go back to campuses in
Mhm.
No,
Athens.
it shouldn't.
It should.
Probably
Rivalry games should always be played on campus,
Yes.
Even if
That's-
it's Florida, Georgia.
even if it's Florida. Every
Oh,
rivalry
yeah.
games are better at home.
What?
And,
Okay,
and
so let me ask you this: Texas, Oklahoma.
it
Should
should be
that
played
be
in
on
Texas and
campus?
Oklahoma.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I
Well,
think it's
no,
stupid.
technically it is. It's in I think it's in Bradley, where do they play Texas, Oklahoma every year? The Cotton Bowl, right?
yeah,
They play it at the fairgrounds during the Texas
they
State Fair.
don't they flip it? Isn't it every once in a while? Isn't it in Oklahoma on a neutral site too? Or no, maybe it is. Maybe it's right. Maybe you're right. They flip flop to see who the home team is. I think it was Texas last year, or maybe Oklahoma was the
Yeah.
visiting team. I
So it's
So
going to
last
be
year's-
Oklahoma this year. And then you know what rivalry's coming back? Missouri and Kansas.
Hmm.
The border, I think it's called the border war,
Yes.
Mizzou,
which
yeah,
Yeah, it's at the Cotton
which
Bowl.
I mean, I knew it was a rivalry game, but it felt like it had been gone for a long time because they used to play each other every year. Before
Arkansas, November. I think November 22nd. I think it's the week before Thanksgiving is the Texas Arkansas game.
and
Oh,
you know what other rivalry game returns this year?
Which
And
one's
it's
that?
not a big rivalry game. Ohio State, Illinois.
Hmm.
You're right. It's not a big rivalry game.
in Champlain, or is it in Columbus?
I think it's in Columbus this year. And I'm not even calling Penn State, Ohio State a rivalry game because To me, it's really not. In
Really?
a way, we own Penn State.
Hmm.
They in Happy Valley this year?
Let
Let me see.
no, I think it was in Happy Valley last season. I could be wrong. It could have been in Columbus.
So Ohio State opens the season at Texas.
And let me say this. I read something today. They are trying to push to get that to be a primetime game. And Ohio State
wouldn't-
wanted to move it to the 31st of August and have it at night. And Texas said no.
Well, August 30th,
No.
Sunday.
And there's
So-
usually the opening college football week of the season. There's usually a game on a Sunday.
So they have you're right. They play Penn State at home on November 1st. Yeah,
That's another, I would say, game I would want to go to. But I would want to go to it in Happy Valley and see
A whiteout.
the whiteout. Yeah. Because I've heard that's one of the top 5 entrance, top 5 atmospheres in college
Yeah,
football.
so have I.
Some people put it at number 1. I'm like, how can you put anything ahead of Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech? Other than I give one exception, the Iowa Wave. That's the only other tradition I could see being ahead of the whiteout.
Ohio State, Illinois is on. It's in Champlain on October 11th.
Yeah.
They're at Illinois.
And,
Well,
and
the Wisconsin's got a pretty cool thing. The
Jump
the
around.
yeah, I've seen videos jump around. I went. It's so hard to rank the top 5 campus college football stadiums I would want to go to, because it's like if you try to rank them, there's a couple you're gonna leave off. Like, I want to go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I wanna go to
Obviously, I
Death
want to
Valley.
go to Michigan, South Carolina.
I want to go to Death Valley.
Which Death Valley?
LSU.
Oh,
Me
the
too.
real Death Valley.
Yeah.
Me too. Baton Rouge.
Me too.
Baton Rouge.
That-
all day.
No.
Oh,
And I know, Bradley, I know you're not gonna like this, but I really want to go to Knoxville and see the Checker.
Oh God, make me puke. Puke.
Well, Bradley,
Yo.
get used to it, because remember, that's where we're going in
I know. I know.
2027.
I know.
Knoxville is so
puke.
overrated.
But no, yeah, I've been to Gainesville and that's the SEC
I've been to
stadium.
Gainesville like 3 or 4 times. Been to Tallahassee once. Been to Miami once. I think I've never been to a UCF game, but I've heard the bounce house can get
Yeah, I heard they
extremely
can get
loud.
wild.
I haven't
I wouldn't mind going to a UCF game just to see the bounce house.
I've been in the stadium, not for a UCF game. I was there for a cover a bowl game, and that's the only game that I can ever remember that it rained so hard that the logo washed off the field.
Yep, I remember who's playing. It was Miami of Ohio
And
Right.
Wisconsin?
Oops, sorry.
Miami versus I was there, and now I forget what the name. It was the 2024 Cure Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
it was
Hang on a
Miami
second.
of Ohio and somebody. I think it was Jacksonville State.
Mm.
Let me see.
But yeah. Now, you know what? I'm going to try to rank the stadiums I want to go to. Wisconsin's probably number 5. 4 is Death Valley. And when I'm talking about Death Valley, I'm not talking about Clemson.
It was Appalachian State and Miami of Ohio.
It was, okay, App State and Miami. So 5 was Wisconsin. 4, Death Valley, and that's LSU,
Mhm.
not Clemson. 3, would probably be. I'm gonna have to say Oregon,
Mm.
and I have a funny story. So when Ohio State played Oregon last year in Autzen, after the game, eh, as we know, Ohio State lost. I was on
Mhm.
social media the next day on Instagram scrolling, and I saw videos of Oregon's the thing they do, their little tradition they do. And I'm like, and I was still kind of salty from the game. Reluctantly, I said, "Oh, that's the most dumb tradition ever." And I got just roasted by Oregon fans. They're like, "Oh, you're just salty because you lost." I'm like, "No, one, y'all got bailed out by officiating." And I'm like, we'll see you in the playoff. And they're like, "Oh, they were clowning on me." They're like, "Oh, if y'all make the playoff."
It's a very strong if.
So Oregon's number 3. 2 would have to be I would put Michigan on here, but obviously I'm going to see him with Bradley next year. So excluding Michigan and Tennessee, it would probably have to be Iowa with the wave they do to the Children's Medical Center. So that would be 2. Number 1. See, and this is where you get put in a corner because there's so many good ones. I'm gonna have to go West Virginia, Country Roads,
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
or Pitt, Sweet Caroline.
Well, if,
Yeah.
if Pitt, you have to go for the West Virginia game, the backyard brawl.
Yes,
That's
Mhm.
the backyard. Search.
if y'all had to rank your favorite atmospheres for college football, what would they be? 5-1.
Atmospheres?
Or
Mhm.
atmospheres or traditions, either one.
Okay,
Oh.
so I'll go Between the Hedges at 5. I just think there's nothing better than Bulldogs home game. Number 4, I'll say Army Navy, just for what it represents.
Oh, yeah, 4?
And-
Wow.
and,
The pure pageantry.
yeah, just who those kids are and what they go through on a daily basis just to play football. Number 3, I'm gonna say the Swamp. Uh, Number 2 is the Iron Bowl, no matter where it's at. And then number 1 is Ohio, Michigan.
I left Enter Sandman off there, but if I had to do honorable mention, I'd do Enter Sandman.
Yeah, I think that would be an honorable. Yeah. Now, if you're talking about stadiums that I'd like to visit, I'd like to see the Rose Bowl. I'd like to go see a Rose Bowl game,
Yes.
preferably one where we're not playing, so I can
Pass
just
it.
go and enjoy myself and not puke half the time. Um, give me Illinois, and Arizona. I'll go to that one, so that I can just enjoy myself and
Give
enjoy the
me
game.
I'll say this. Give me anything other than BYU Colorado in bowl season last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
That was one of the most hideous bowl games there was.
Sure was. Yep.
Oh, it was so gut wrenching to watch. And I think that's what,
feel like
other than his ego, I think that's what hurt Shadur's draft stock was that
Well,
game.
I think there was a lot of things that hurt Shador's draft stock. His media interviews, his
Well,
attitude.
I'm saying way before the draft interviews. I think
And
there's 2 or 3
I mean,
games that hurt his that scouts realized, oh, maybe he's not a first round pick.
well,
Mhm.
he took he took the most sacks of any quarterback last year.
Yeah, well, problem is Dion tried to revamp the offensive line, and as I think all of us saw, how did that work?
Well, not spectacularly, but I think sacks are more of a quarterback stat. I think the totality of sacks are a quarterback stat. I think a sack can be on the offensive line, but
But
you can
multiple.
have you can have a sack and you're like, yeah, our guy got beat. And you can have a series of sacks where you can look at it and go, yeah, our guys just got, we played Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, and they're just outstanding. And so we're gonna get, sometimes you just run into that, in it,
Mm-hmm.
words and junk,
Speaking of,
an
may
impenetrable
I
wall versus
ask, how do you think Michigan's going to do this year with all the production
they'll
they
be fine.
lost?
They'll be
Yeah.
fine. They've got
I was looking at win totals. So they have them for 8.5 wins.
over.
With all what they lost last year, I don't know. Might be a
They've got the Graham and Stewart Graham and Grant didn't
Grant.
play in the bowl game, and they still manhandled
Well, yeah, but that
Alabama's
Alabama
offensive line.
team, I think Milrow did not care about playing. To be honest,
Yeah,
I think
the
if you
D
got an
line gave
Alabama, here's the thing. I think if you got an Alabama team that actually legitimately cared about playing in that bowl game, it would have been a better bowl game than it was.
man, I think if we had a
Is
quarterback that was worth half a damn.
that too. But I think Alabama, all those guys that knew they were going to go pro, just decided, look, let's check
Well,
out and let's play a crappy game.
well,
Yeah.
I think if you look at it, and you had that second string defensive line starting for the just starting both in the literal sense and the figurative sense of starting, and they worked that Alabama offensive line like it was nothing. So I think it at the end of the day, it's all about we don't play them on paper. You know,
No, and it's
you don't put
as Bradley likes to say, bulletin board material.
Correct.
we
And
don't play them on.
I
We
was
don't.
looking at Alabama's win total. It's at 9.5. I dare I say, would you take the under because nobody knows who their quarterback's going to be.
Right.
That's a scary.
That's a scary proposition.
Yeah, and Alabama with no quarterback, a guy come in and light the world on fire.
Well, see, they're having a competition between 3 guys. One of them's a freshman and he's a 5-star.
Right.
And then the other 2 were there last year. One of them, Ty Simpson, got a little bit of playing time last year. Austin Mack was a transfer. And I did a video a couple weeks ago where I ranked the top 20 quarterbacks going into this year. And I had the Alabama quarterbacks at I think 14 or 15 because it's a whole bunch of unknown.
Yeah. Got
But
no.
the thing with Alabama is you never want to underestimate them.
I've been telling you that. I've been saying that for 15 years. I remember
Even without Saban there, you still don't
Yeah.
want to underestimate them because if their offense isn't good, their defense is going to be one
Lights
of
out.
the best in the SEC.
Anybody
If
want to
not
take
one of the best in the country.
who they
Yeah.
play in week 1?
I was just looking at it.
Florida
I know
State. They play Florida State week 1.
Is that game actually and it's at FSU.
Yes,
Excellent.
Passy. So now the
Excellent.
question
Where it belongs.
with the Knowles is you're coming off of a pretty lousy season.
I'm about to pull up the win totals again, and because I was looking at it earlier today, and I think they had Florida State at like 7.5.
They play
Okay.
they play at home on September 13th. Alabama does. They get Georgia on the road, Vandy at home, Missouri on the road, home against Tennessee, at LSU, at home against Oklahoma. So that's the S, and then they get Auburn on the road. So the Iron Bowl is on the road this year, and they're in
So
Auburn.
I've got Auburn this
So
year.
who are we talking about? Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alabama's win total was over under 9.5.
Hmm.
And like we just said, they really don't have a quarterback. So,
We don't know if they have a quarterback, and that's the scary thing.
and then who was the other one? Florida State. Florida
Yeah.
State 7.5 is their win total. I'm willing to take the gamble and go under because Castellanos is their quarterback and he was horrific at Boston College.
Yeah, they were a
And
team
we
that
saw last year what happened when they tried to use the portal.
yeah,
It's
It
They get
wasn't-
seven and
stuck
a half.
in the porthole.
yeah, it wasn't
right there.
It
Pretty-
wasn't very helpful.
4,
Miami,
6,
No.
7.
Miami's win total is 8.5.
I
Eight
could
and a
see
half.
Florida State getting to 8.
You could.
Yeah, I was just looking at their schedule. See, they play Florida or they play Alabama, and then the East Texas A&M, Kent State, Virginia,
Wait a minute.
Mi-
Did you just say East Texas A&M?
East Texas A&M.
Oh,
Yes,
Lord
sir.
have mercy. Oh,
Yep.
Lord.
So East Texas A&M,
East
Kent
Texas
State,
A&M, I would advise you not to show up.
Yes.
show up, have a party, and go home.
Penn State
Unless
at
somehow you end up pulling a Jacksonville State from a couple years ago and beating FSU.
You pull up BC and beat Florida
Yeah.
State.
Miami's is 8.5. Miami, Florida.
Mhm.
Florida State plays Miami on the road on October 4th. They're in. Oh no, I'm sorry. They're at home. My apologies. They have them in
Could you
Tallahassee.
see Miami and Florida winning over 8 games?
One,
Probably not.
I'm willing to take the risk and go
3,
under.
4, 5,
Shoot,
Yeah.
foot.
7, 8,
The
9,
under is
maybe?
minus the under for Miami's win total is plus 152.
Well, they start with Notre Dame. So
So
That ain't gonna be well. I mean, I don't want to say that's not gonna be an easy game, but it's gonna be CJ Carr starting a quarterback for Notre Dame probably.
then they get Bethune
this
Cookman.
very who did the and they have that kid Carson Beck coming in.
How
Miami
do you
does.
Yeah.
think?
But like I said about Carson
there's-
Beck earlier, I don't know if I trust Carson Beck after
If
what
he
I
comes
saw
back
at the end of his
healthy.
career at Georgia.
If he comes back healthy and plays like he did in 24 or 23,
But the problem with Miami is
they have
defense.
a defense. Yeah, that's. I could see this is a Miami team that could surprise a lot of people and run the table.
And
I
they got
I
they
don't.
got
I don't see a
they got-
hard game on. I don't see after Notre Dame. I don't see a.
That's-
Do they
a-
play? Do they play Virginia Tech this year?
at the end of the year?
yeah, in Blacksburg.
That's
I could see them losing to Virginia Tech.
that's I just
It's kind of funny. They have
no because Virginia Tech wasn't very.
Yeah, but the reason Va Tech wasn't good last year was, and this is no excuse. And it was injuries. The reason they lost to Vanderbilt the first week of the season was they were their first.
They went
So
7-7 last year.
Drones was out. Their backup quarterback was out, so they had to play their third string, and they just injuries bit them the entire season.
Mm.
And I'm willing to take, and Bradley and I talked about this on the podcast we do for college football. I'm willing to take the risk again and take Virginia Tech to win the ACC.
Miami plays 3 Florida teams in a row. USF, Florida, and then they play Florida State. They play 3 straight Florida teams in a row. 2 at home, 1 on the road, and the 1 on the road is against the Knowles in Tallahassee. They get
Just
USF.
There's 2 ACC teams I'm willing to take a gamble on this year to win the ACC. Virginia
Louisville.
Tech, nope. Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech.
North Carolina.
You know what? Let's see what.
Virginia Tech, maybe.
How about
That-
SMU?
North Carolina's win total is 7.5.
Go Belichick.
Let's get into Hard Knocks. Let's see where we're at. I think that's a lot of where we're the way too early predictions. Looking at it and trying to go off last year and versus this year, it's like so many moving. That's the hard thing about college football versus pro ball. With pro ball, you kind of know who you have.
Yeah, college
Out
football
there-
with the portal.
with the portal, with the graduations, with guys just moving on,
High school kids coming in.
coming in, juniors getting their juniors
Like,
and sophomores.
look at who's the kid on Bryce Underwood on Michigan?
Right.
Is he gonna
go?
start, or is he gonna be back up to Mikey Keene?
Or
Jordan
Jalen Davis.
Well, see what I've heard from Michigan fans, and I want Adam, I want you to chime in. What I've heard from Michigan fans is they're saying that there's no way Jalen Davis shouldn't even be in this competition. It should be between Bryce Underwood and Mikey Keene.
I don't know anything about Mikey Keene, so
He transferred in from Western Kentucky.
then he shouldn't. No, I'm good.
So
Western
you're
Kentucky.
fine with
I'll start the rough.
either.
But if Davis isn't gonna be, if Davis isn't gonna go, if he's not ready, if he's not the guy, then I'm going with the guy that came from Western Kentucky or the freshman. I'm gonna pick
Well,
the
he's
freshman.
came from a bunch of other schools, but he has a lot of experience as a starter.
I don't care. Experience is only as good as who you played. Oops.
Right.
True. And you know what? And I'm going to say this. When I did my QB rankings for this season for college football, I had Bryce Underwood in, I think I had him at like number
He was
11
at-
or
okay,
number
so he was
10.
at Fresno. He looked okay at Fresno last year. That's right. Yeah, he was the kid at Fresno last year.
Yeah.
He's a midget. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And Bradley, I'll give you one guess at where he started his college career.
Who's that?
Mikey Keene.
Mikey
Not-
Keene?
Yes, not USF.
UCF?
Yep, he was
Yep.
the 4th string quarterback at UCF.
He went 7-3 there.
Yeah.
Was that under Gus Malzahn?
I
Nope.
think so. 21.
No, Mel's. I don't think Gus Bus was there yet. I
Because
think
now
that
it's
I think it was Frost before he got canned and ended up going to Nebraska.
Now he's back.
I don't think this is gonna end well for UCF.
Yeah, Scott Frost is
I
back.
got back to
Where
the-
a lot of
I don't
wins when he was their head coach.
I don't think it's gonna end well. I think
No.
I think he's going to last probably 3 years. And then the next big coach is going to come up and take the job either at UCF or somewhere else. Because if you look at, there was a couple teams that kept their coaches after this coaching cycle in college football that could have fired them, like Kentucky.
Mm.
Stoops could have gotten fired,
Yes.
He was
but they
one play
kept
away from being a hero.
Stu- Well, and then yeah, you look at Kentucky. Their issue is they haven't been able to find a quarterback.
And they haven't been able to be consistent.
No. And I would say the same thing about Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt had a good year last year.
For Vanderbilt.
Yes, and I pick on my cousin. One of my cousins went to Vanderbilt, and I'm like, dude, why did you never go to any of the football games? He's like, because I didn't even know they had a football team.
Well, they're horrible anyway.
So I met my partner Ralph in Nashville when the Lightning were there playing the Panthers, and I was driving by Vanderbilt, the university. He goes, yeah, he goes. The only people that go to Vanderbilt games are alumni. He said because it's like going on a Saturday to watch, drink coffee and talk. He goes, there is no football, and up to last year.
No.
I wanted to say that North Carolina plays UCF in Orlando on September 20th. So yeah.
I mean, Vanderbilt's
So-
football program has been a joke for decades, and all right, maybe they showed some slight improvement last year, but for all intents and purposes, Vanderbilt's football program is a joke.
Here's a bold prediction: Vanderbilt wins the SEC this year.
What?
Whoa!
Put money on it.
Whoa.
Put some money on it.
According to what poll?
Put $1 on that.
You know what? I got a bold prediction too. Since we're giving bold predictions,
You hear it here first, folks.
this might ruffle some feathers. Michigan State wins more games than Illinois this year.
Oops, wrong button.
Well, it's possible.
And I say that because everybody is picking Illinois to be this year's Indiana in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And I don't trust Brett Bielema.
No, Brett Beamer? Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't like him either.
Frank.
I
never
would be
liked Bielema.
I am gonna make another. I'm not gonna say bold prediction, but a hot take. I think Brett Bielema gets fired after this year.
I don't think he gets fired. I think he gets fired before the end of the year.
I think so too.
Is he one? Do you think he's one of the first coaches that gets fired?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's him or Stoops.
A safe bet. Safe bet.
Because people are already saying, "Oh no, he's not going to be the first one fired. It's going to be Shane Beamer at South Carolina."
You know who I think could be fired early next year is PJ Fleck.
Didn't we talk about that, Bradley?
Soda. Yep.
Mr. Row the boat.
Well, thing is, we'll have to do that again. We did that last year, where we brought the list out of coaches that were on the hot seat between 1 and 5 and ranked them. So we'll have to do that again this year, coming into the season. How they have
we'll do
them,
that in August.
who's on the hot seat, because I think they had Alex Golish as like a 2 out of 5,
I
meaning
think so.
Yeah.
like not even close.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
5 being fired, 1 being safe, 2 being safe. So I mean, I think he was a 2 or a 1.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is a lot of new coaches in the AAC this year, though. East Carolina, FAU, Charlotte, Tulsa, Tulane. No, Tulane was last year.
Right.
Was
Well,
Summerall.
Tulane,
Fritz
Tulane, won,
went to.
Tulane won the conference last year, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they win the
No,
American last?
I think it was Navy.
Yeah,
either
No.
maybe.
Army,
won.
Army,
you're-
Army.
No, that's right. Army won the first year. The first year that they've ever played in conference, they won the
Yes.
conference title.
Championship. Yep. They won.
Yeah,
Lost to Navy the week in the Army Navy game.
right.
Yep. So, and I know it's a little early for this, but if we had to pick who we think are going to win the conferences, start with the SEC since it's Bradley's neck of the woods. Who across the board, who do we think is going to win the SEC? I'm going to say, reluctantly, I'm going to say Alabama.
Yeah.
Texas.
Bama's here.
Georgia.
Bradley.
Texas.
Lewis, what did you say?
I said Bama.
Okay. Big 12. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say it won't be Arizona State. I'm gonna say Texas Tech. Because they had a really good transfer portal cycle and they lost Micah Hudson to Texas A&M, then gained Micah Hudson back from Texas A&M. So I'm gonna go Texas Tech.
Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
You said
Big 12.
Kansas State.
Oklahoma State. I'm gonna take a while. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark.
I'm
Kansas State.
Bradley. What was the saying we had all last year?
Don't bet
About-
against. Don't bet against the coach.
Exactly.
Don't
Or, as we
bet
say in
against
Nashville, don't
Gundy.
screw the food.
Until they
I'm a
started to
man.
slip.
I'm 40. If you're gonna come after somebody, come after me.
Right.
I don't know what was the coolest clip other than that one, other than watching Steve
Charles,
Dangle.
or mine was
Watch.
Charles Huff the week they played Ohio State last year, and he was trying to convince all the Ohio State guys to come to Marshall, and he said, "We'll give you free Tudor's biscuits
To come to
to come to Marshall." Yeah, I'm gonna regret betting against Oklahoma State.
Mike Gundy.
I tried it last year; it worked. I don't think it's gonna work this year.
I don't know. I just something about Oklahoma State this year. Again, way too early. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we could do this again right before the season.
Usually do.
Yeah.
ACC. I am gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say it's not gonna be Florida State, because that's what most people are saying right now. Is it's gonna be Florida State.
Well,
I am gonna say SMU.
I agree. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking the Mustangs.
I'm still gonna go Florida State.
I'm gonna take the heels.
The Heels. Yep.
Okay, so we're all
Dude.
split
That's-
on that. So, AAC. I'm going
AAC?
USF. Yeah.
The
I'm going
conference.
Yeah, who's gonna
Uh,
win the conference? And I'm going USF.
I'm gonna go Tulane. I think they're the team to
Maybe.
beat. Navy.
You know, actually, can I change mine? I want to
Yeah.
say USF, but something tells me not to pick against Memphis, even though they lost a lot.
They're
I'm going
going.
midshipman.
Well, then I'm gonna go. Let me say Memphis.
Okay,
Memphis, okay.
so we've got 2 Memphis, 1 Navy, and 1 Tulane. Mountain West. I don't want to say Boise State because I feel like that's the chalk pick because they won the conference last year. I'm gonna go with the Running Rebels and Dan Mullen.
Oh, UNLV.
I don't really know. I don't watch a lot of um let's see.
99 days.
I'm gonna take Colorado State on a limb.
Adam, who did you say?
If we're going out on limbs here, I am gonna take the Air Force Academy.
Air Force.
Okay.
Hey, if this is just for fun and it's not serious, I'm taking the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, this is just fun. More
Colorado State.
serious once we get closer to the season.
Of course,
Yes.
I'll invest the more time in actually looking at who's any good. And
Right.
Big Ten. I know who Adam's gonna say right off the bat. Adam, why don't you go first?
Mhm.
USC.
That's not what I was expecting. I was expecting you to say Michigan.
Too many unknowns.
True. I want to go Ohio State, but we have the same problem. We don't really know who our quarterback is. I think it's going to be Julian Sayin.
But and who is he? You know what I'm saying? Can he be? Well, can he back up?
Regardless of who it is, I think Ohio State is still going to do really good because their wide receiver room is just ridiculous.
His linebacker core is outstanding.
Yes. You know what? Reluctantly, I'm going to go the team Ohio State beat in the playoff last year.
Oregon.
Yep. Dante
Yeah.
Moore.
Yeah.
And second, I would have to go Ohio State.
Yeah. There's too many
I'm at-
unknowns. I think I like Oregon. Thinking about it. I think Oregon's
Yeah,
going to be a top out.
well, I'm going to explain a little bit more why I said Oregon. I think Dan Lanning is in the same position that Ryan Day was in last year. The narrative has changed around Ryan Day. I think the new narrative is, Dan Lanning can't win big games. And I understand that Ohio State Oregon game last year during the year was a big game. Yes, that's a win. But what happened when they got them in the playoff? They lost.
Yeah. You got to win playoff games. You got to win games that matter.
So the narrative is out there for Dan Lanning. And it is, he can't win a playoff game.
Especially in this era of college football where regular season games are just another game.
Mm-hmm. Lewis, who did you say?
I said Michigan.
Okay.
Okay, so the last conference we're gonna do is the Sun Belt, which everybody calls it the Fun Belt.
Yeah.
What about the MAC?
Oh yes, we can do the MAC. So
The MAC, my favorite little conference.
who said App State?
I did. Aren't they still in the Sun Belt?
Yes, they are. Western Kentucky is not as of 2026.
Okay.
Western Kentucky is going to the MAC in 2026.
Interesting.
And so is UMass.
Because
Oh.
UMass is a Midwest state now. Because Massachusetts is a Midwest state. Sure.
Bradley, who do you have as your
Oh,
way too early?
I'll take App State.
And I know this is just for fun. I'm gonna say Charles Huff and Southern Miss.
Southern Miss
You know
could.
what?
They're sneaky. They're
Yeah.
They
either.
took a lot of guys. Charles Huff brought a lot of his luggage over from Marshall.
And they've had that where they're either 1-11 or 9-3.
Look at Marshall last year. I'm
Mhm.
gonna say this personally. Last year, and Bradley could tell you, what did I say every week about Marshall? I said there is no way they're gonna win.
Didn't they beat Notre Dame early in the year?
No, that was Northern Illinois.
Who did Marshall beat last year? Maybe it's 2 years ago.
But no, even when I did my preseason predictions last year, I said Marshall was gonna win less than 5 games.
Mm.
And I got roasted by a bunch of Marshall fans. They're like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Just wait." And I admit now I was wrong. There's a lot of teams I was wrong on last year. But no, Adam, you are totally right. Like Southern Miss could go 1-11, or they could do what Marshall did last year and win the Sun Belt.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And now we get to the MAC.
I'm
I'm gonna say Miami of Ohio.
gonna go Toledo.
And the reason I'm saying Miami is not their quarterback because Brett Gabbert's not there anymore. It's Daquan Finn, and I don't trust Daquan Finn. I trust their coaching because it's the same coach that it has been for the last 5 years. So we got Toledo, Miami of Ohio, Lewis.
I'll go with Miami, Ohio.
Bradley.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Miami of Ohio also.
And I saw this and I don't know how much I believe it. Kent State
Mm.
apparently is talking about going down to D2 or D3 for all sports.
Really?
Yep, because they've gotten in some trouble with their head coach that they fired.
Now, I knew
Yeah.
that they had.
Kenny Burns is currently part of a scandal asking basically the scandal is was asking for extra money from the boosters to kind of do what I don't want to say Michigan, but what other teams have done where they slide money, NIL money under the table to recruits. That's what Kenny Burns was doing. And he was doing other stuff that got him in big trouble. And they are talking about obviously I think all 4 of us know that Kent State is not going to be anywhere near a bowl game.
Right.
Yeah, fortunately.
And
you're right.
they've given themselves a self-imposed bowl ban.
Right. You do that so that the
Yes.
NCAA says, all right.
Doesn't do anything, which there's other stuff the NCAA has to deal with.
Yeah.
Not the whole other stuff, like the whole trying to give people more NIL money talking
Yeah.
about extra eligibility, which
Right.
is ridiculous. You should only have 4 years of college unless you were
Right.
there during COVID or you were injured. Look, like
Correct.
look at Miami. They had a kid on their team that was a freshman, was a senior in high school. No, he was a freshman in college when I was a senior in high school. And he played 8 years of college football
Right.
because he had 2 ACL injuries, 2 knee injuries. Then he redshirted. Then he, I think, quit. Then Cristobal asked him to come back. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
That's ridiculous. 8 years of 8 years of playing college football.
I mean, it's one master's degree.
Yeah. Well, and that's
Yes.
like people picking on like Tyler Shuck and Jackson Dart, who just got drafted. They're like, oh, these guys are going to be 27 by the time they're in their second year. Why does that matter? At least they're pros.
Looks they got there.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I was talking to other people about this. There's already people out there doing mock drafts for next year.
I don't even know what the
It-
draft order is gonna be.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. For one. And two, they're like, oh, Arch Manning's going to go number 1 to the Browns. Arch isn't going to come out next year.
No.
His Eli and Peyton have already came out and said that's not the way the Mannings work. They stay in college and develop. If you look at Peyton and Eli's
Disagree.
career at Tennessee and Ole Miss,
Mhm.
they stayed for 3 years and then came out after their 3rd year. So the earliest Arch is going to come out would be 2027.
Yes.
And it's just blasphemy to me that people are saying, oh, if Arch doesn't come out, then Drew Aller will be the first overall pick.
Screw it. He's gonna have to show me a whole hell of a lot more than he has so far.
Exactly. And that's like I see on TikTok these people doing their way too early like predictions for every conference. And everyone I've seen for the Big Ten is like, oh, Penn State's gonna win the Big Ten. I'm not sold.
I'm not sold on James Franklin.
No.
I'm not either. Not until he beats Ohio State or Michigan. Or this year they have to play Oregon.
Mm.
And I believe it's at Oregon.
Yeah, I need James Franklin to do more than just not show up.
I need
22
James
straight
Franklin.
runs, you can't stop it and lose.
Yeah, and I need James Franklin to do more than yelling at his students and fans.
Yeah, he made Eli stay till he was a senior.
Never beat the Gators.
Nope.
And I think Peyton stayed till he was a senior too.
Never beat the Gators. But Eli was 2-1 against the Gators at Ole Miss.
Mm.
2-1 against the Gators.
I'm surprised when Arch was coming out of high school that he didn't choose Ole Miss or Tennessee.
I think the same reason why Peyton chose Tennessee over Ole Miss is because he wanted to do something. He wanted to be his own man.
Yes.
That's why Peyton went to Tennessee, is because he wanted to play.
His
He
own
didn't
man.
want to be.
In his old man shadow.
No.
He wanted to do his own thing. To be his own man. Yep.
Yep.
Peyton
That's
Manning.
what you do anyway.
That's like
Yep. Both Manning brothers stayed till they graduated. They were seniors before they came.
Mhm. That's like look at Ohio State with Jeremiah Smith right now. Then I read the other day where Ohio State's already recruiting Marvin Harrison Jr.'s brother.
Mm.
And Marvin Harris, Marvin Harrison Jr. already came out and said that his brother is a lot further ahead in development than he was coming out of high school.
And sometimes it skips a generation.
I mean, don't get me
Yes.
wrong,
I'm
Marvin
kidding.
Harrison was a dang good receiver at Ohio State, but that's
Oh
just
no, I was
that's
kidding.
just yeah, but that's par for the course with Ohio State. They know how to develop receivers, and it's gonna
That's how they
suck
recruit 'em.
whenever Brian Hartline leaves to take a head coaching job,
Mm,
if he ever does.
you're gonna be a
Be-
lifer, man.
Speaking of, um,
Great guy.
your what talking about the Arizona Cardinals play the Bucks at Raymond James Stadium this year.
Yeah, that'd be
Marvin
fun.
Harris here, right? Is that where he went? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yep, he
He's
went to
there.
Cardinals.
Okay.
Yeah,
They'll be here. They're Bucks this year at home. So Patriots are here this year. That might be a game I might be going to the Patriots.
yeah.
game.
Bucks schedule is interesting this year.
Hey,
I
baby.
think the Bucks are going to win the NFC South.
I think so.
Them
Yeah.
or Atlanta. Them or
Yeah.
the Atlanta. Too.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say Carolina.
Hmm.
Carolina is going to be more competitive this year.
Carolina's gonna be better, but I don't know if they're win the South better.
Yeah,
No.
probably not.
New
No, they
Orleans
won't
is a
be. They
disaster
won't be
player.
basement dwellers in the NFC South.
Saints.
I think sneaky team. That
Yeah.
a couple of, if Tampa and Atlanta have a couple of big injuries, Carolina could sneak up and steal a division title at 8 and 9.
Yeah, but the problem is Bryce Young. What Bryce Young are we going to get? Are we going to
I don't
get the
know.
Bryce Young we got before he got benched or after he got reinserted as the starting quarterback?
And that's the Bryce Young you're gonna need.
That's right.
And then, I mean, they did upgrade their wide receiver core by taking Ted
But
McMillan in the first round.
I don't care how good your skill positions are. If you
And
can't,
I think they did revamp their offensive line a little bit.
if they get it right, that's gonna be the key. And I don't.
And
I
say their defense, their run defense was just
atrocious.
horrible last year.
Horrible.
Their pass defense was middle of the pack.
But
And
if you can,
I saw where they cut Jadavian Clowney.
goof.
They did.
I'm gonna say this: watch the Ravens scoop up Jadavian Clowney
Yeah.
And
or the Eagles. Like the Eagles need any more help though.
It's so damn old now.
It's Howie Roseman. He
Mm. Yeah, if anybody could revive a career, it's Roseman.
That's,
well, I mean, I don't necessarily think Jadavian Clowney needs his career revived. I think he just knew in Carolina that they're not really going anywhere.
no.
Going anywhere fast, that's for sure.
I would say this: Jadavian Clowney would look nice in a Bills uniform.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But of course, then again, you're gonna get Dolphins fans saying, "What more help does Josh Allen need?" Because that's all Dolphins fans can do is complain.
Yes.
He's 32.
I mean, they did just get rid of Von Miller. Could you see? I'm gonna lay out this scenario. The Broncos need a linebacker or somebody to mentor their young pass rushers, and Von Miller's a free agent. Could you see the Broncos GM reaching out to Von Miller and telling him and asking him, "Hey, you want to come finish your career in Denver?" What would Von Miller would Von Miller hang up the phone, or would he say, "I'll think about it"?
Uh,
You think?
he would say think about it.
Does John Elway give him that call?
Yeah, because I don't think they left off on a good foot. What do you think, Bradley? Does he hang up the phone, or does he say, "I'll think about it"?
Well, I mean, he had a good career there in Denver. I mean, if that's where he wants to go back to finish it, he can always sign a 1-day contract and retire as a Bronco. I don't even know how much. I mean, I guess it comes down to how much does he have left in the tank is the question I
Yeah,
would have.
he's 36. He's had a couple of significant injuries,
Hmm.
and
Well,
he
and
was suspended.
he would be mentoring the young guys. He would,
Yeah.
and he would be like a rotational pass rusher.
Maybe.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like a spot start. You know,
Rotates in, but
yeah,
he's on the Broncos just to be a mentor.
he's on a snap count. He doesn't have to play more than 20, 25 snaps a game.
Right.
Yeah,
Is that how he
I would.
wants it? You know, I really think it all depends on how he feels about it. Really feels. I think it would. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of things that go into that. You know, That's why we're not GMs and they are.
Ugh.
You bring him in for a conditional workout and you see how he can he still get up and down? Do you think he still has 17 games worth of football in him, even in limited duty?
Yeah.
Does he want to go out in a limited role, or does he want to beat a man one last time?
Now,
I think,
yeah.
and it really depends on what conduct policy he violated last year. Is that gonna continue to be an issue going forward? Are we gonna be in the commissioner's office every Monday morning going, yeah, he's a good egg.
Now,
At least once a
here's
week.
one for everybody to try to wrap their head around. When
Okay.
is Aaron Rodgers gonna sign with the Steelers? Because I've heard for the last 2 weeks, Aaron Rodgers is gonna sign with the
I don't
Steelers.
know. I don't know.
When is mini camps over?
Mini camps don't start till I think June or July.
So probably the first week of August, after all the mini camps are over, and
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me I like Will Howard, but I don't think he's ready to be a starting quarterback. And then you can't convince me that Mason Rudolph's going to be your starting quarterback.
I mean,
But it is Mike Tomlin, so
yeah,
and that's the other thing I've learned is you never doubt Mike Tomlin.
True.
They can just Mike Tomlin their way to winning 10 games and making the playoffs
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
because of that darn defense they have.
We'll always have a damn good defense.
Yeah.
Even though people want them to trade TJ Watt.
Oh, I mean, and by people you mean
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith.
Oh no,
That's
not just
referring-
Stephen A. I'm talking about other media members. They're like, because they saw his social media post where he did the peace sign, and they're like, that means he wants to be traded.
Okay.
No, that just means he wants a new contract. That's like, and I know I don't know if y'all watch the NBA.
A little
Gian-
bit here and
Yes.
Giannis has
Wait,
made
please.
it publicly clear that he's doesn't necessarily want to be traded, but he's open-minded to the idea and thought of being
Yes.
traded. And people are trying to make trade packages around him. I'm like, first of all, we said he said he was open-minded to the idea of being traded. Doesn't necessarily mean that he wants to be traded. Now, hypothetically, could somebody trade for him? Yes. And if it's the Spurs, I would be scared.
Depends on what they give up to get him.
Probably I would say probably a couple draft picks, maybe one of your young guards like Castle or Vassell. Keep Giannis away from the Eastern Conference. I don't want Giannis anywhere near the East because I know Durant's probably going to end up in the East. And people are already putting packages together for Durant too. And I've seen people doing it for the Magic. I don't want Durant in Orlando.
No.
I'd take if Phoenix is blowing it up, I'd take Booker any day of the week over Durant. And as a Magic fan, there's only 3 players on the Magic that are off the table.
Yes.
Paulo, Franz, and Paulo and actually 2, Paulo and Franz. Everybody else, fair game.
Yes.
I mean, I like Jalen Suggs, but he has massive injury problems.
Should we leave it at that, guys? Get off.
Yeah.
We can call it a show there.
All right.
I'm good with that.
Talk about your show, but before we get out of here.
All right. All right. Enhanced Sports Show rolls on Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Number is 512-543-4662. We'll discuss, of course, we'll continue on with the NHL and NBA conference finals. We're getting into that now. We'll take a look at Daytona 500 for Sunday. I hope I can get Gerald to call. MLB, UFL, we'll recap the previous stakes and the PGA Golf Championship that happened last weekend. And I'll also talk some UFC as well. Your thoughts and comments are always welcome. The ridiculous time of the week. Sports trivia this week in sports history, or today in sports history, as it's now a thing I know. And of course, the good news story of the week. So remember, it's 512-543-4662 on Saturdays. You can check us out on Facebook Live for the show and like and share the Facebook page. Alec, you're welcome to come along as well if you can. So on that note, I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, again, thanks to these 3 guys for making the show great this week. We were not going to be on a special day, guys, next week, next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, because I'm on vacation next week on Thursday. So doing a show next Tuesday. Until then, we want to thank our first responders and our armed services. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Thank you to our sponsor, biotropiclabs.com. And until Tuesday, this is a sports Walker. This has been the Walker Report, part of NGSE Sports. Peace.
Got print, send it.
I will see you guys next Tuesday.